Hi, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Healing Our Kindred Spirits podcast. I am Donna Gaudette, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. Whether you're listening on a walk, in your car, or while you're making coffee, folding laundry, or just taking a few quiet minutes for yourself, I want you to know that this episode is meant to feel like a gentle exhale. Today, we're talking about a really powerful cosmic moment, the full strawberry moon on June 29th, 2026, and Mercury retrograde beginning on that very same day. And I know the second people hear Mercury retrograde, there can be this collective little panic like, oh no, what's going to go wrong? But I really want us to slow down and reframe that today because both the full moon and Mercury retrograde are not here to punish us. They're not here to make life chaotic just for the sake of it. They're invitations, they are energetic pauses. They are moments that ask us to notice, reflect, release, and realign. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about what the strawberry moon is, why this full moon is significant, how full moon energy can support us in everyday life, and how to work through simple release rituals. And then we'll move on to Mercury retrograde, what it means, what areas of life it can affect, and the positive side of it that often gets overlooked. And as always, take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. And astrology and moon work are tools for reflection. They don't have to be rigid rules. You are always the authority in your own life. Please remember that. Let's begin with the strawberry moon. The strawberry moon is the traditional name for June's full moon. And no, it does not necessarily mean the moon will turn bright pink or red, even though I thought so last year. Even though that would be beautiful, it's not. The name is connected to the short strawberry harvest, the season in parts of North America that happen around this time of the year. And for many indigenous communities, including the Algonquin peoples, this moon marked the time when wild strawberries were ripe and ready to gather. So right away, the strawberry moon carries this theme of ripeness. Something has grown, something has reached a point of fullness, something is ready to be seen, tasted, harvested, celebrated, or even released. So this year, the full strawberry moon reaches its fullness on June 29th, 2026. It is also the first full moon after the June solstice, which makes it feel even more connected to the energy of summer, which is about warmth, abundance, growth, light, expansion, and really life in full bloom. So there is something really poetic about that, isn't it? The solstice gives us the longest light of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. And then the strawberry moon follows as a kind of glowing reflection. It asks, what has all of this light revealed? What is growing in your life? What is ready to be acknowledged? And because full moons are always a point of illumination, they tend to bring things into awareness or into perspective. It's not always dramatic, although sometimes it can be, but often in really quiet ways. It could be a realization, a conversation, feeling you can no longer ignore, or maybe a pattern that suddenly becomes obvious. It can even be a truth that was already there, but now you can finally see it clearly. So, in spiritual and energetic practices, the full moon is often associated with culmination, completion, clarity, release, and even emotional awareness. If the new moon is the time when we plant seeds, the full moon is when we look at what has grown. And sometimes what has grown is beautiful. And sometimes it's something we want to celebrate, maybe a relationship that is deepening, a goal that's progressing, or maybe even a new version of ourselves that could be emerging. But sometimes what becomes illuminated is something we are ready to let go of. Maybe it's an old belief, a habit, a fear, maybe a resentment, or better yet, a version of ourselves that maybe we've outgrown. That's why full moon work can be so powerful any time of the year. I know I'm referencing the date today of June 29th, but this can be applied to any full moon. And it gives us a natural rhythm for checking in with ourselves. We live in such a fast-paced world. We are constantly moving from one task to the next, one notification to the next, even one responsibility to the next. So the moon reminds us that life is cyclical. We are not meant to be in constant output mode. We are meant to grow, pause, release, rest, and then begin again. That's the natural progression, isn't it? But when we talk about the full moon helping us in our lives, we're talking about using it as a mirror. It can help us name what we're feeling. It can help us recognize where we're holding tension. It can help us make peace with endings. And it can even help us celebrate progress that we might otherwise overlook. So, this strawberry moon specifically brings in the energy of sweetness and harvest. So, if you ask yourself, where am I being invited to receive more sweetness? Where have I been working hard but not allowing myself to enjoy the fruits of that work? Where am I still clinging to something that is no longer good for me? So, astrologically, this full moon falls in Capricorn, while the sun is in Cancer. So, you get two different aspects. That gives us the Cancer Capricorn axis, which is really about balancing our inner world and our outer world. Cancer is connected to home, emotion, intuition, family, memory, in the places that we feel safe. And Capricorn is connected to responsibility, structure, ambition, discipline, legacy, and the goals that we build over time. So this full moon may bring us up questions like, am I taking care of my emotional needs while I pursue my goals? Am I building a life that actually feels good to live in? Am I overfunctioning, overworking, or carrying responsibilities that are not mine? Am I honoring both my softness and my strength? So, Capricorn energy can be very grounding. It doesn't just want us to dream, it wants us to make the dream sustainable. It asks us to get honest about our commitments, our boundaries, our time, and even our long term direction. But paired with Cancer season, this isn't about becoming hard or emotionally unavailable. It's about building a life where your heart feels kind of supported. And it's about structure that protects your peace. It's about boundaries that allow your tenderness to exist safely. So if emotions are a little heightened around this moon, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong because full moons can turn the volume up. But Capricorn reminds us that we don't have to be swept away by every feeling. And I noticed today that I have been a little bit more emotional. So the moon does affect our cycles of how we feel. We can sit with it, we can ask what it's teaching us, and we can respond with maturity and compassion. So, I want to talk a few minutes about some simple rituals. And I use rituals in the sense that it's a habit, a routine. So, some rituals that you can do for this full strawberry moon, and I want to keep this really accessible. You do not need a huge setup. You do not need expensive tools. You do not need to perform anything. A ritual is simply an intentional act. That's it, an intentional act. It's a way of telling your mind, body, and spirit, I am present, I am listening, and I am ready. So, the first ritual I want to talk about is called the release list. This is one of the simplest and most powerful full moon rituals. You take a piece of paper and write down what you are ready to release. This could be a fear, a limiting belief, a pattern, a grudge, a situation you keep replaying, or even pressure that maybe you've been putting on yourself. No right or wrong way. Nothing is right or wrong. It's what you feel you want to write. So you might write, I release the belief that I have to earn rest, or I release the need to control how everything unfolds, or I release old guilt that no longer belongs to me. And after you write your list, read it out loud if that feels safe and comfortable to you. And then you can tear the paper into small pieces and throw it away. You could choose to burn it, but please do so safely outdoors in a fire safe container because the point isn't the drama of the act, is it? The point is the intention. I am no longer carrying this in the same way. That is the intention. So, number two, ritual number two is called a strawberry moon gratitude bowl. And again, you can do this any full moon of the year. It doesn't have to be the strawberry moon. Because this moon is connected to harvest and abundance, you can create a simple gratitude bowl. Place a bowl on your table or your altar and add a few items that symbolize what you're grateful for. This could be anything, flowers, a crystal, a note, a photo, or even a small object that represents a blessing in your life. Then take a few moments to name what you are harvesting right now. Maybe you're harvesting courage. Maybe you're harvesting clarity. Maybe there are months of quiet healing that you've just been through. Maybe you're simply harvesting the wisdom of knowing yourself better than you did before. Because this ritual reminds us that release and gratitude can exist together, just as joy and grief can. We can let go of what is heavy while still honoring what is good. And ritual number 3 is called the moonlight reset. And if you can, step outside under the moonlight or sit by a window where you can see the night sky. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and take 3 slow breaths in. With each exhale, imagine your body just releasing that tension. When you think of a baby when they sleep and when they breathe, when they're first born, watch their belly, it rises. They know how to breathe. We forget as adults how to breathe. So take 3 slow breaths, and with each exhale, imagine your body releasing that tension. And you can say quietly, I release what is complete, I honor what has grown, and I trust what is becoming. That's it. That can be the whole ritual. Or add in whatever you want. There's no right or wrong way. The moon police are not going to come and knock at your door and say, hey, you're doing it wrong. Do what feels right. Listen to your gut, your intuition, your feelings. Because sometimes the most powerful practices are the ones that bring us back into our bodies and remind us that we are allowed to pause. So for me, what I usually do is it's called flash paper. It's also known by a brand called Flying Wish Paper, and you can purchase it at any bookstore or online. It's kind of like the kind of paper magicians use, but the company is called Flying Wish Paper. I am going to go outside of my deck, depending on the weather, and write down what I am ready to release, and I will roll it into a cylinder shape, and then I will take a match and light it. It'll float up into the air and come back gently down as ash. It'll float right down into my hand as just a little piece of ash. And while I'm doing this, while I'm writing it, while I'm lighting it, I am reciting in my mind what I want to release or what I want to attract. If you feel guided to journal after a full moon ritual, here are some helpful reflection prompts for the strawberry moon. And again, any kind of moon. I'm calling it the strawberry moon, but that's where we are right now. So, first one, you can ask, what has come full circle for me recently? Next one, what am I ready to release before moving into the next chapter? Where am I being asked to create healthier boundaries? What sweetness am I ready to receive more fully? And what part of my life needs both more structure and more compassion? That's a huge one for many of us, even myself. It's something that we reflect on often, and sometimes we sit with it, and sometimes we're not ready to go there. But ask yourself, what part of my life needs both more structure and more compassion? So I want to talk about Mercury retrograde for a moment because it's rare that it happens on the same day as a full moon or the strawberry moon. And it is happening on June 29, 2026, and it ends on July 23rd, 2026. Mercury also stations retrograde in Cancer. And again, it ends July 23rd. But this period of time, and I just found out moments ago before I started recording this episode, that we also have some geomagnetic storms going on. And right now in the world, if you've been listening to the news at all, we've had a series of small and major earthquakes going on over the last several days. So there is a lot going on energetically in our world, in our earth, in our universe right now. And I just want to send love to everything right now, everything and everyone. I want this vibe to go out there. And because there's no sense of time in the universe, so to speak, this will ripple, this will affect. So if you're listening to this, please do send positive vibes and energy out into the world right now because it needs it. A quick explanation about Mercury retrograde. Astronomically, Mercury is not actually moving backwards. Retrograde motion is an optical illusion from our perspective here on Earth, but astrologically, Mercury retrograde is interpreted as a time when the theme Mercury rules can feel slowed down, scrambled, delayed, or brought back for review. So Mercury is connected to communication, thinking, planning, travel, technology, schedules, messages, details, contracts, and the way we process information. So yes, during Mercury retrograde, we may notice more misunderstandings, more tech glitches, delayed responses, changed plans, or the need to double check details. But I want to say this clearly. Mercury retrograde is not something to fear. Again, it's not something to fear. It is not a cosmic disaster. It's more like a cosmic review period. It asks us to slow down enough to notice what we may have rushed through. And because this retrograde is happening in Cancer, the themes are likely to feel more emotional, personal, and connected to home, family, memory, belonging, and even emotional safety. So, this could be a time when old conversations resurface. Family dynamics may need revisiting. You may find yourself thinking about the past, childhood patterns, old versions of yourself, or what home really means to you now. And I've been doing this for a few days now, thinking about family, talking about the past, talking about my childhood with my husband. A lot of stuff is being kicked up, and that can be very emotional, and that can also be very, very jarring, but also very healing at the same time. I had wanted to record this podcast during the day today, June 28th, but I was having a really bad pain day and I wasn't able to sit. And so it is now 1 a.m. on June 29th, and I am recording this episode. Earlier, my husband was in the dining area. I was in the bedroom before I came into the office, and we heard something fall to the floor like it was just being tossed. Like somebody just tosses something, and we have wooden floors, so just tossing it. My husband got up to check to see what it was, and it was one of my wooden magnets on the refrigerator. It was on the, I think I have a series of 4 of them. They're elongated magnets on the side of the refrigerator. This particular magnet had the words, "You are my sunshine." Now, that song in my family means many things to many different people, but it is our family's quote theme song, unquote. And usually when that name shows up randomly on a post online or the music, that song will start playing or referencing "You are my sunshine," it usually means someone is trying to send a message or someone is around. I don't know which way it is yet. It still remains to be seen. So if it's a message from spirit or something going on in the family that I'm not aware of yet, I did send a message out on my Facebook page to kind of check in with family. And anyone who knows me knows that these kind of things happen, and it usually always means something, always. So we shall see. So back to Mercury retrograde. When Mercury retrograde begins on the same day as a full moon, there's a clear message. And that message is pause before reacting. Pause before making a decision. Pause before acting. Reflect before deciding. Listen before responding. Let clarity come slowly. So, what can Mercury retrograde affect? Mercury retrograde can affect things in everyday life, but let's make this practical. Let's talk about communication. This is the big one. Text may be misread. And what I mean was the emotion in a text. Somebody might read it the wrong way or take it the wrong way. Emails may need clarification. Conversations may bring up old sensitivities. So during this time, it helps to slow down and ask, did I understand that correctly? Or can we revisit this when we're both calmer? Don't jump to conclusions. Technology. This is a big one. Devices, apps, passwords, files, systems can act up. This is a good time to back up important information, update what needs updating, and avoid making assumptions when something glitches. Yesterday, my iPad was acting up all day. I was working on the podcast episode, writing it, and it just kept glitching. It kept freezing. Kind of scared me a little bit because there's a lot of my podcasts episodes are on there. All my writing is on there. So I had to go to my laptop to take over from that. But it was just glitches are going to happen. Technology is going to happen. Is it related to Mercury retrograde? Don't know, but the timing is there. And then travel and scheduling. I know a lot of people who are traveling right now and just remember, plans may shift, delays can happen any time of the year. But give yourself extra time. Confirm reservations. Don't assume. Check addresses. Check dates. Check your reservations. Check your flights. Check everything. Be flexible when you can. And if it does go wrong, be patient. And then we have decision making. Mercury retrograde is not always the best time for rushing into major new commitments without reflection. And that doesn't mean life stops. It just means read the fine print, ask questions, and give yourself space to think. When my husband and I were buying this house, and just made 10 years we're here, when we were purchasing this home, it happened that the purchase and sales was going to be signed during Mercury retrograde. And no, wasn't going to happen until after Mercury retrograde was done. It was only a day or two, but that was fine. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. I just wanted to wait. So relationships and emotional history. Because this retrograde is in Cancer, memories may surface. Old wounds may ask for attention. You may feel more nostalgic, sensitive, protective. Be gentle with yourself. Not everything that resurfaces needs to be acted on immediately, and sometimes it simply needs to be witnessed. I'll give you an example. And again, things with Mercury retrograde and full moon can start several days leading up to it and still continue several days afterwards. And there's always a negative and positive side to things. So what is the positive side of Mercury retrograde? And that's the part that really doesn't get much attention, because Mercury retrograde in itself can be deeply helpful. I know for me, when Mercury retrograde hits, my attention is on target. I don't feel like I have my head in the clouds. I'm more focused. I am more target driven. I can get things done quicker. I can stay on task, and my creative juices flow really, really quickly. I'm able to write better. I'm more clearer when I speak about something. I don't have 1,000 thoughts going through my head. So Mercury retrograde for me has that ability to keep me focused. And again, that usually happens the first part of Mercury retrograde, and then going toward the end of Mercury retrograde. No, it doesn't work for me. That is gone until the next one. Mercury retrograde, the positive part of it, it's a beautiful time for anything that begins with review, reflect, revisit, reorganize, reconnect, rewrite, reimagine, reassess, repair, release. So if something from the past comes back, it does not always mean you're meant to return to it. That's not always the case. Sometimes it comes back so you can respond differently. So sometimes it comes back so you can see how much you've grown. Sometimes it comes back so you can finally close the loop. But Mercury retrograde, which is in Cancer right now, may support emotional healing, especially around the stories that we've carried for a long time. So stories like, I have to be the strong one. My needs are too much. I can't trust myself. Home is something outside of me. Those are the stories we tell ourselves. And don't we, after a while, start believing those stories we tell ourselves? I know I do. I'm guilty of that. But this retrograde asks, what if those stories are ready to change? What if you can communicate with yourself maybe a little more tenderly? What if emotional reflection is not regression, but maybe wisdom? And there can also be practical positives. You may rediscover an old creative project. I know for me, the last few days, I've been wanting to be creative, and I am not a creative visual person. I'm writing, yes. Creative projects, no. So you may want to reconnect with someone in a meaningful way. You may notice a pattern before it becomes a bigger issue. You may revise a plan maybe to make it stronger, especially if you have travel plans. Maybe you'll finally have a conversation that brings clarity. Maybe you've had issue with someone and it'll bring some clarity. That can happen during this period of time. So rather than asking, how do I survive Mercury retrograde? Try asking, what is this period helping me review? Spin that into fear, bring it from fear into positivity. And I don't mean toxic positivity. I just mean looking at it from a different perspective. For me personally, I seem to have jolt of creativity in the usual brain fog, like I said. But and a lot of it's due to the medication that I take. And it seems during Mercury retrograde, it seems to lift. I can be more creative, more present. My best ideas come to me during the first part of Mercury retrograde. And from friends that I have talked to, they have similar experiences as well. And again, we are all different and our experiences will differ as well. But I want to remind you of something. Please, 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 not just at Mercury retrograde or full moon, but please always allow yourself some grace, especially during this time. So, how do these two events work together? Now, the full Strawberry Moon and Mercury retrograde happening on the same day is meaningful because both energies are asking us to slow down and pay attention. The full moon illuminates, Mercury retrograde reviews. The full moon says, look at what is complete. Mercury retrograde says, look again before you move forward. And the Strawberry Moon asks, what is ripe? And Mercury retrograde asks, what needs more time? So they go hand in hand, they complement each other. And together they create a powerful moment for emotional honesty. Not necessarily quick action, not dramatic announcements, but really, really honest reflection. So you might find yourself asking, what am I done pretending is okay? What am I ready to release from my emotional body? What conversation needs more care? What boundary would help me feel safer? What dream needs a more solid structure? Or what part of me is asking to come home? So, this is a beautiful time to be gentle. And gentle doesn't mean passive. Don't mistake that. Gentle does not mean passive. Gentle can be clear, it can be strong. Gentle can say no. Gentle can make changes. Gentle can choose peace without abandoning truth. So, here are a few grounded ways to move through this energy if you're having a difficult time. Again, give yourself extra time, whether it's travel, conversations, work deadlines, or even emotional processing. Build in some breathing room. What do I mean by that? Take time for yourself. That's important. Double check details, confirm dates, times, addresses, payments, and important messages. If you think you paid something, you're not sure, double check. If you have things on auto pay, double check to make sure that hasn't changed. Talking from experience. Just double check the details. Pause before responding. If something triggers you, take a breath before replying or responding, especially with family or close relationships. And if you can, journal what resurfaces. If old memories or emotions come up, write them down. Write them down before deciding what they mean. Release with compassion. You don't need to shame yourself for what you're outgrowing. You don't need to apologize for it because we all have things that we no longer need in our life. Maybe we've outgrown them. It could be friendships, relationships, situations, work, a hobby, a craft, anything. But don't feel that you have to shame yourself for what you're outgrowing. Just release it. And and in turn celebrate what has grown. Don't skip over your progress just because there's still work to do. Nothing has to be perfect before you can celebrate it. You know, when we have small milestones, those become the big milestones, and those should be celebrated as well. And maybe most importantly, do not use astrology to scare yourself. You know, a lot of people live by their astrology. Please, if you can, don't do that because it's meant to support yourself, just like anything, just like this podcast. It's meant to support you, not to make you change your life entirely. And if you go into this period expecting chaos, you may miss the wisdom. But if you enter it with curiosity, it can become a time of deep clarity. I want to talk a guided reflection for the full moon in retrograde. And if it feels good and you're safe, you're not driving, take a breath with me here. Inhale slowly and exhale fully. And ask yourself, what is the moon illuminating for me right now? What am I ready to stop carrying? What needs to be reviewed with more tenderness? What part of my life is asking for a stronger foundation? You don't have to have all the answers right now. Let those questions work on you. Let them open something. Revisit them in the transcript. Let them soften something within you. And then let them guide you gently back to yourself. So as we move into the full Strawberry Moon and Mercury Retrograde, and can't forget the solar geomagnetic storms right now, I hope you remember this. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to release. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to grow slowly. You are allowed to outgrow old roles, old stories, and even old expectations. This moon reminds us that growth can be sweet. Mercury retrograde reminds us that reflection can be sacred. And together they invite us to come back into alignment with what is true, what is sustainable, and what makes us feel good. So if this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to take a moment tonight or sometimes this week to journal or sit under the moon if you can, or simply ask yourself what you are ready to release. And if you feel called, please share this episode with someone who could use a little cosmic grounding right now. And in addition, I have also created an original companion guided mindfulness meditation that can help you further. And you can find it where you found this episode. And I also include journal prompts and affirmations. And you can find that in the episode description for the meditation. So thank you so much for being here with me. I know you have busy times, busy days, and whatever you're doing to listen to the podcast, whether you listen to it in bits and pieces or you listen to it in one sitting, I appreciate you. And I want you to take gentle care of yourself, trust your timing, and I'll meet you in the next episode. And if you need a gentle reminder, just remember, you are never too much, and you are always, always enough. Thank you.